Welcome to the Beginning Teachers course. If you start well, you will proceed well. What I mean is that probably some of the most important things that you start learning and implementing as a teacher in the beginning will carry you very, very far successfully as a teacher. Now, one of the important things that has been said about education is that in this new era, we want to practice 21st century education. In this sense, we want to prepare students not for the exams, not merely for the exams. Exams are important as a stepping stone. But a stepping stone to what? We want to prepare students for the real world. In other words, they should be able to leave school and function in the real world successfully. In this way, you actually need them to function with different 21st century skills. Some of these skills are like, for example, critical and creative thinking. You see this in the picture on the number 1 and number 2. Critical thinking, creative thinking. This is very, very important. And number 3 is talking about collaboration. They need to be able to work with one another. And then you need number 4, communication, which is how you communicate online, offline, using the different tools and apps. And then number 5 is citizenship. They need to realize that they are not just a person who is in Malaysia, but also a global citizen, contributing to the whole of the global world. And then number 6 is very, very important, character. And if we are talking about Christians, we want them to build Christian character that is in line with the Bible. After that, you have a whole range of other things that talks about adaptability, problem solving, growth mindset, inquiry, time management, integration. All those are important. And you need all this to be able to function well in this 21st century education. In the real world, there are a lot of challenging situations, and they need to function in the real world as productively as possible. And so what we are doing as we teach our students to using the 21st century approach, 21st century education approach, is that we prepare them to be future ready. When they come out of school, they are ready. 21st century education, a learner is one who is self-directed, someone who is globally aware, and a problem solver, a critical thinker, a collaborator, a critically, civically engaged, information and media literate, financially and economically literate, and an innovator. So there are a lot of things that we want them to be able to function as a student. But the question is how? Because when it comes to education, we have a lot of theories. But how do we actually implement all these theories is the big question, the million-dollar question. How do we carry out 21st century education practically and not leave it in the shelf as a very nice theoretical idea? I would like to suggest that one way you can start as a beginning teacher is to start learning and implementing how to carry out your class using the cooperative learning approach. Why? The power of cooperative learning is that it involves thinking strategies. There's no way you can work cooperatively without having these thinking strategies for yourself as a team member and also in the classroom. Then there's always active engagement. Cooperative learning requires the students to be actively engaged. And together, they are involved in social learning. They learn together. So a definition of cooperative learning is like this: learning in small groups where every member contributes to achieve a common goal. The learning outcome and the success criteria is the common goal. And so we want every person in the team to be able to work together, helping one another to achieve the learning outcome and the success criteria that is set for every single lesson. You see, cooperative learning is also a rather biblical idea. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15 to 16, it says, "But practicing the truth in love, we will in all things grow up into Christ, who is the head." So there's the head, who is Christ our head. "From him the whole body grows, fitted and held together through every supporting ligament." That's where the cooperation comes. And then the practical exhortation is, as each one does its part, the body grows in love. That's cooperative. When you work together, everyone does its part. There is that cooperative learning. And that is why it is important that we continue to have cooperative learning as one of our arsenals in the learning and teaching process. Social learning is very important. Lev Vygotsky, the Russian psychologist, said what children can do together today, they can do alone tomorrow. So learning together, social learning is important because when students work and learn together, they become more competent in certain areas. CL very much uses and espouses social learning. Secondly, students learn when they involve directly and personally. Now, Spencer Kagan is a great espouser and a great teacher of cooperative learning. And this is what he has to say: structures redefine teaching. Teaching is not what the teacher says, but rather creating student learning experiences. Cooperative structures maximize student interaction with each other and with the academic content. There is tremendous power in having students learn from their experiences rather than from our words. There is far more engagement and retention of meaningful experiences. The content is processed in episodic memory, not just from semantic memory. Learning in context more mirrors the natural acquisition of knowledge than mere passive transfusion of information. There's a lot said there, but basically what Spencer Kagan means is that there must be active engagement. And this active engagement is embedded in the cooperative learning process and structures and strategies. It makes learning very experiential. Experiential learning happens because the students are involved together and in the structures that we would like to teach you later. It enhances learning. Furthermore, CL strategies or structures coupled with active engagement and social learning encourages students to use thinking strategies to accomplish their task. So there's so much to benefit from learning cooperative learning and implementing it in our classes. So we hope that you will be able to have more experiential knowledge inculcated in your students rather than you doing all the talking, trying to transmit the knowledge. Spencer Kagan also says, don't do cooperative learning lessons. Make cooperative learning part of every lesson. So you don't sit down and think, how can I plan a cooperative learning class? No, that's not the place to start. You start with the content, what you want to teach, and then see how you can use a certain cooperative learning strategy or structure to enhance that learning. So don't do cooperative learning lessons. Make cooperative learning part of every lesson. One of the most important things as a beginning teacher is to learn how to manage your class. Class management is a skill that has to be learned intentionally, practiced intentionally, and mastered intentionally. If you do not manage your class, there can never be fruitful learning in your class. So this is one of the areas in which every beginning teacher must learn and master. There are important factors for class management. First of all, you must know authority, who is in charge. And the one who must be in charge of a class is you as a teacher. It's not your students. You must win authority in your class from the very beginning, from the very first class. You must win that authority. And then there must be rules. What structures do you have in place for discipline and class control? You need to think, what are the rules that are necessary for your class to be successful, to run according to the pace and according to the specifications of your classroom, so that learning and teaching happens. Credibility is the next thing. Is the teacher able to do what he or she says? That means you don't threaten your students, but then you cannot carry out your threats, right? So credibility is important. You must be able to think through your rules and carry out and discharge your authority so that the students see that you are a credible teacher. What you say, you will do. Finally, respect. Do the students look up to you as a teacher, and vice versa? Because respect is a mutually exchanged commodity. You respect your students respect you, right? So this is 4 important factors. So how do classroom management happen? Well, the worst way in which it can happen is it becomes a hands-off style, whereby you actually let things happen as it is, thinking that the class will naturally pan out well. It's a free-for-all, and there's a chaotic and undisciplined way of happening. This will be bad for you. The next style is called the hands-on style. So you try to be autocratic, you try to control your students. It's better than the free-for-all, the hands-off style, but what you find that if you are always using this hands-on style, you are always having to fight the battle. It never seems to end. The students will sometimes try to go against you. They try to win back their own control, to rebel. And also, you find that there is this whole area of trying to subvert you from time to time. So it's a constant battle. I think this is good, but there's a better way of doing this. And this is called the hands-joined style, whereby there is cooperative and a way in which the energy, the synergy of working together to create a classroom that is so conducive for learning. What you need to do is that you need to decide and make choices together with your students. That means they own the process in which the class happens effectively. And this goes very well with cooperative learning. We want a class management style that is cooperative. Students involved with you in making decisions, in deciding how the class will be. The 3 C's of cooperative discipline is that students feel capable of completing tasks in a manner that makes the expected standards. Students need to know that they can contribute. They are capable of doing this. Students need to believe that they can connect successfully with both the teacher and their classmates. And this helps in cooperative discipline. Students also need to know that they contribute to the group in a significant way. Everybody is important in cooperative discipline, and they can contribute positively. And so we find that in James chapter 1, verse 19 and 20, to be able to do this, we need to be quick to hear, quick to listen, slow to speak, and especially slow to get angry. There are challenging situations in which cooperative learning will challenge the way in which cooperative discipline is carried out. It's not an automatic way in which discipline is handled. Sometimes in fun, we will find that misbehavior will happen, and we need to deal with it. There are four ways in which four goals of students when they misbehave. They want to seek attention, or they have a misguided idea of who is in charge or who has the power. Sometimes they are angry and they want to take revenge, and sometimes they have an assumed inadequacy. So I'd like to address some of this very quickly, because this you will see might turn up in your classroom, especially if you are a beginning teacher or when you are starting the year with a new class, with new students who do not know you. So one of the ways in which we need to counter is attention-seeking behavior. Some students just want to do this. The student's message is, look at me, think of me, consider me. So they try to use attention-getting mechanisms. And this is why they go into misbehavior and they try to do this. Origins of attention-seeking behavior are when we start rewarding misbehavior with attention, right? And that means when they find that the teacher will give them attention when they misbehave. That's not good. Not teaching your young people to ask for attention only when needed and appropriate. That they need to know when it is appropriate to have the teacher's attention. Lack of attention in home also flares up in the classroom and they misbehave. So you need to minimize the attention. So you refuse to respond, or sometimes you give the eye, and just look at the person. Sometimes just your physical proximity, you stand close to the person in the classroom and he stops misbehaving. Use some name dropping or send general signals, send a secret signal to just give attention and behave. Sometimes we give also an I message, I would like very much that you stop doing this. Use the grandma's rule. The grandma's rule is first we work, then we play. Sometimes we also use a clarify desired behavior. You target the type of behavior and then you address it and point it out. For example, target stop and do. Say, Damita, stop talking to Dayang, face me and see if you can answer the question on the board. So this is target, stop, do. Sometimes you do the unexpected. You lower your voice, you change your voice, you stop teaching and just wait so that the whole class comes back to a behavior. Sometimes you do this by ceasing teaching because you silently scan the classroom. Sometimes you distract the student by asking a direct question, ask a favor, or give a choice and change the activity. Now, notice the appropriate behavior. That means we thank a student who is doing just what we want them to be doing and say, hey, John is working so well, finishing the work that I've given him. I use compliance praise, in which you praise the desired effect, especially when the usually misbehaving student happens. Secondly, counter misguided power to be boss. That means they want to be boss, subverting you. Redirect to positive power by asking for help. So you get the student to help you and to do certain tasks in the rooms, in the classroom. Be firm but kind. I think that's very important. you need to be firm. Don't be yielding to the student all the time. Let routines be the boss. So set up these routines, and we will talk about some of these routines which we set up about classroom management later. Leave and calm down. Sometimes when you are very angry, do not blow up in the classroom as far as possible. That means you lose control, you lose authority. Develop mutual respect and set reasonable limits. There are some things that are a no-no. You cannot allow some students to do certain things to you. Yeah. For example, shouting at you, being rude to you in front of the other students. All this, you need to set certain reasonable limits so that it does not happen. When sometimes students are angry with us as teachers, we do something that we don't even sometimes realize that we hurt their feelings. Well, if they are feeling that way, we acknowledge the hurt feelings, how we have hurt them. Avoid punishment and retaliation in that sense, because they are just feeling angry at the time. If you punish them, it doesn't really help the situation. And try to build some trust, use reflective listening. Listen to why they are angry. Share your feelings about how you also sometimes are angry when they do certain things. Make amends. Don't take sides, especially when two parties come to you for that quarrel. Number 4 is to counter assumed inadequacy. Break tasks down into small steps. Stop all criticism. Encourage any positive attempt. Set up opportunities for success, achievable goals, because success begets success. So you counter that assumed inadequacy, that I can't do this. Teach skills and show how, but don't do it for them. Build on his or her interests and don't pity and don't give up. So help them to build up that confidence in themselves. Well, now we come to cooperative class management that is in line with cooperative learning. We want to give you some practical tips on how to do this and carry this out in your classroom as a preparation. These are the nuts and bolts of cooperative learning. And later on, when we learn about structures and social skills, that will be how we carry them out practically. But here are some ways in which you set up a working structure for the class management. Now, a team, we have to understand, is a team is together, everyone achieves more. Together, everyone achieves more. When they work together, everyone benefits and everybody improves. So here are some of the empowering social learning in your class that we need to consider plugging it into our classroom. Labels, roles, signals, structures, and social skills. We will cover labels, roles, and signals in the rest of our video. And in the last video, the third video, we will cover structures and social skills. Now, cooperative class management means that we have to manage a few things. 1 is managing teams. Number 2 is managing activities. Number 3 is managing noise. Number 4 is managing space. And lastly, number 5, managing materials and time. So we'll cover all 5 of these, God willing, in this video. The first step we will start is managing teams. What we suggest is that you intentionally set up teams or groups. And these groups has to be heterogeneous. That means it's a mixture, mixed abilities. And we need to label each of the teams and also each of the student. Now, 5 purposes of team building is number 1, they need to know their own teammates. Getting acquainted, acceptance, and friendship. Doing some of these getting to know you kind of activities in the beginning of the year is very helpful when you want to form teams. And then forming a team identity. Sometimes it's a name that you want to give them, that they want to choose for their own selves. A team spirit and an ownership for it happens that way. Mutual support is when we have positive interdependence, that you help and support from other teammates is a very good way in which you teach them to help one another and support one another. Valuing differences. Well, it's not always that everybody is in the same direction, have the same mind, and the same spirit. But it is not wrong, just different. Okay? It is not wrong, just different. There are different ways in which people do things. Thirdly, there's a developed synergy. Build on ideas and opinions of one another to create a better product or wiser decision that even the best student could not accomplish alone. So when they see that when you develop synergy, they do better, they produce things that are better. They not only become better themselves, but they produce products that are better. Now, teacher selection, I will suggest that you don't give the students the opportunity to choose what group that they want to be. It has to be a teacher selection. That means you intentionally put them into heterogeneous grouping and give each one a unique label to each student. So one way is to put them, if you have their grades or their for that subject, you can list them from beginning to the end. Yeah. So you find here, you list them from here right down to the lowest, from the best student, the best performance, right down to the worst, the lowest performance. So this is the high achiever group. This is the low achiever group. And in between, you have the average achievers group and average achievers group for the second part. So in other words, in each group, you have about 4 students, at least 4 students. If possible, if the numbers are good and suitable, then you have exactly each group having 4 people. But sometimes you have the star leftovers. Then this can be plugged into their different groups. So you can see, you can label them from A, from the top here, A1 to, from A1 to E1. So this is the top achievers. So the bottom part here, you find that you can label them also from A1 to E4. All right. And then the average achievers, you reverse the order in which you label them. And so the same with this one. Okay. And then the leftovers. So you find that you have the group A here. Yeah. And the group A here. A2, you have the A3 and the A4. That means you give them 4 students over here. Yeah, 4 students in group A. And then group B is the same. In this way, when you plan this way, you roughly put them into equal groups. 1 high achiever, 1 low achiever, 2 average, and the leftovers are usually also the average achievers. So you have then labeled them according to the labels. Labels and roles. Roles are very important. Every time you carry out an activity that uses cooperative learning, every student, every member in the team must be given a specific role. Here are the 4 basic ones. First, you have the encourager. The encourager is not the leader. The encourager is the one who is for other people, helps organize and run group activities, help others to join in, and be sure that everyone gets a turn. So he's not the leader who does everything, who dominates it. No, he encourages everyone to contribute to the team. Then the second role is the recorder. It keeps an accurate record of the decisions and answers agreed upon collectively. But then we must always emphasize this, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Everyone should record their discussion for themselves. This is very important to do, or else you will have one person recording and all the rest of them just sitting there not recording. You must emphasize everybody records, and you check this by just looking around for them. Third is the presenter or the reporter. Again, everyone must be ready to report, but you have an official presenter or reporter who will verbally report the findings. The fourth is a runner. Now, the runner is a very interesting role because this is the person who's given the right to walk around the classroom. He will be called upon to collect materials from the teacher or to return the materials that the group has used. And sometimes they are allowed to go and consult other groups to see what is happening in the other groups and bring the knowledge, what they have seen back to the teacher when required. Now, those are the four basic ones, but according to need, you can have other roles that are given according to the need of the activity. The focus keeper keeps the team together and on the task, and also helps to keep the time so that the task can be completed. This is especially important if one group keeps on getting slowed down and unable to finish the task. Then you have the quality checker. Before they hand up something to the teacher, have you proofread it? This quality checker, the QC, will do this. Can the work be improved? Yeah. Does everyone understand and agree? If especially in some structures which require everyone to present. This next one is a noise captain. This is very important. A noise captain, especially in a cooperative learning class, because cooperative learning class can become very noisy. And so you can appoint a noise captain in each group to control the noise level, use quiet voices, and don't disturb others and speak one at a time. The eighth one is a reader. When there's only one reading material, a reader can be appointed. That's a question commander, is to ask people to explain. They probe for understanding and ask someone to paraphrase. You can have a reflector. Sometimes at the end of lesson, did we work together well? And so you have a reflector who asks these questions and point out any problems that they have faced as a group. The cheerleader is one who leads the team to celebrate their corporate success or individual one. And then you have the gatekeeper who makes sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to participate. You have the coach, in which you coach other people in the team to make sure everybody succeeds in achieving the learning outcome. Now we move on to managing activities, which is using signals. Signals are important. After we have given them labels, we give them roles, we then have signals. One of the most important signals that I teach teachers to have is that you must have a teacher signal to get the student's attention. And the teacher's signal is used so that the teacher doesn't have to always shout to get the student's attention. So one way in which we do this is that we teach a signal that everybody understands this is the teacher's signal and no one else uses it. One way is I use a clap. And this clap is a signal to all the students that they must then look for me. They must look for me as a teacher and give their attention to me. Stop whatever they are doing. Yeah, this is the teacher's signal. So the clap is the teacher's signal. No one else in the classroom will be allowed to clap, or else it becomes ineffective. And then after you have clapped, you have the silent signal. The silent signal is when you raise your hand and you keep quiet. So all the other students who see this, they get the teacher's attention or the teacher's signal, and then the silent signal is the raised hand. So all the other students will have to follow by raising their hand to say that I'm giving you my attention. They must then look at me as a teacher. They cannot be looking at their work. They must look at me as a teacher. And then if they see a friend who's not raising the hand, they then alert the person by patting them on the shoulder and saying this, showing then they must raise their hand. So this is the teacher signal. This is a silent signal. Very important is to do this is that you must wait for the very last person to give you the attention and identify that person, so that the time of response gets less and less and quicker to reach that silence and everybody giving you attention. In this way, there is no need to shout, not need to try to overcome the noise in the classroom. Now, here's another teacher signal, which is the go signal. So again, you do this by clapping your hand as a teacher signal, and then you point this way. Now you can go to your different groups. Now, when you send people to do something in a different part of the classroom, you need to send them home. So this is the home signal. Send them home back to the base team. Now, there are also what we suggest student signal. When you are teaching and the student don't understand, this is a student signal, not a teacher signal, right? A student signal is called the over my head. That means whatever you are teaching, I don't understand. It's going over my head. So the learning resource might be too difficult for me. Sometimes you have been spoken to. It's also you want to get them attention. There's a thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs up, I agree with you. Thumbs down, I disagree. So this is a quick way to get a feedback from your students. Slow down signal. This is a slow down signal, yeah, from the teacher. So if you are talking too fast, like sometimes I do during this video recording, the student can then say, slow down to the teacher. Yeah, your explanation is too fast. Now you can also have these cups, colored cups. It's a traffic light, green, yellow, and red. Green is when they are working together as a group and they have finished, they put the green on top to show that they have completed the task. If they have not, they are close to completing it, they can put the yellow cup on top to say that it's nearly done. Now the red one is on top to show that we are not finished yet. We have not even close to finishing yet. So this is a signal from a student, and from this you can tell where your students are in the task that is given. We are now moving on to the third one, which is managing noise. This is very important because teachers sometimes feel they don't want to try cooperative learning because the class gets out of control and it's noisy, disturbs the whole school, and especially the classroom next to one another. So you need to be able to manage the noise cooperatively. So this is how we do it. There are 3 levels of voices. Now, L0 is personal. That means you are just thinking. No need to talk. There's no talking. This is individual work. So you're not allowed to talk. Now, L1 is a partner voices. Your paired partner can hear you, but not the other pair in your team. So you remember there are 4 members in a team. And team A, member 1 and 2 are talking. Team member 3 and 4 are talking. So L1 level is that these 2 who are talking cannot be heard by the other 2 members. So they are discussing. So the noise level is the level of the voices is such that these 2 talking to one another, they can hear each other. But what they talk, they cannot be heard by their pair. So you can imagine this is a very soft way of talking. Now the next one is team voices. That means you're discussing in a team. 4 members or 5. But you're talking in a way that the team next to you cannot hear you. So this is the L2 voice level. Very important, so that because the tendency is this, when people are sharing and everybody is talking, they have to talk a little bit louder. They feel they have to talk a bit louder so that they can be heard. And so when they talk a bit louder, others also will talk a bit louder, and the noise levels just keep on increasing until finally it becomes a noisy class. So we have to teach our student L0, L1, and L2 voices. So practice these 3 levels of voice with your students and then evaluate with them. Did you notice that you can talk to one another and still not make the class too noisy? Manage the classroom. Here are also other ways. You can use signals. Signals to manage. This is the way in which you tell students, lower your voice. Yeah, lower your voice. Reduce the noise in your group. You don't have to keep talking and just indicate to them. Then there's also, as I said, the quiet captains, which you can appoint to each group, especially if activities keeps on, it keeps on getting too noisy. The methods to manage is to use the class monitor. Sometimes you can appoint a student, not you, but the student be appointed to monitor the level of the noise. If he feels it's too noisy, he will blow the whistle or sound the bell. There are also methods to manage noises, called the team noise cue. So if the team next to you is too noisy, getting too noisy, so the four of you agree, we need to tell them. So what you can do is you can do this. So that means the two clap is to tell them, hey, you're noisy, reduce the voice. All right? So this is how you teach the students to manage noise. So the noise management techniques need to be practiced, becomes a class routine. Quiet captain, the class noise monitor, and also the team noise cue. Fourthly, managing space. Now, we want to manage space so that we minimize rearranging furniture every time we want to do group work. It is not the best if every time you carry out cooperative learning, you have to rearrange the furniture. So how do you sit in a way in which the class can get into cooperative learning as soon as possible with the minimal of moving of furniture? So you find that what we want to have is the criteria for team seating arrangement in classroom that facilitate CL is 1, students are seated 4 per team or 5 if there are extras. Students are physically close to all teammates. No one's back is to the teacher as far as possible. And all students have an unobstructed view of the teacher and the board and the screen. So sometimes certain ways in which we arrange them in teams is that a student's back is to the blackboard or the whiteboard in front. And so he cannot see what's happening. And you can't blame the person if he doesn't give you the attention when you ask them. Team tables are far enough apart for easy movement within the class. Teams are also close enough for team-to-team interaction, and there is an open space somewhere in the class for class building activities. Is this possible? Yes, I think it is, if we arrange it this way. So this is one way in which it has been proposed. So you have 1 table here, 2 tables here, 3 tables here, and 4 tables to form the cooperative learning. The students are facing the teacher board. So where they are teaching, this is facing the board, this is facing the board, this is facing the board, and this is facing the board. So they're all looking at the board. When they want to work together, then they can always change their position of their seat in their way they are seated and then work together as a team. This fellow can interact with them. They can interact with one another. So is how you arrange this way. Yeah, they can interact with one another easily, but no one has their back to the whiteboard. Yeah, so here is the way in which you sit them in the center of the classroom. Here are the sides, all these sides here. Yeah, and you'll find that in this way you have a cooperative learning arrangement of the classroom. Finally, managing materials and time. Manage what the teams need to produce. You see, when you work together, you always need materials. But if we keep on always wasting time giving materials, finding materials, distributing materials, it just eats up the time. So what can we do? Well, you have a team basket for materials, simple, just a bucket or something, and put some of these needed things that they always need to use. 4 scissors, 1 cellophane tape, 4 sets of whiteboard markers, 1 set of crayons, 1 stick glue, team signage marker, 1 stopwatch, whatever that you find that this team need. Put it all into one and have one for every team. So you don't have to keep distributing all this all the time. This can be left in the classroom, and the students can access it anytime they need. So it depends on the levels in which you are. If it's a primary school, then you need all these scissors and all these things very often. When you're higher level, you need other types of materials much more often. Then you have to have a time activities. Teacher has a timer. And nowadays, you have the digital timer that you can have in your computers. And so there's a team timekeeper, there's a class timekeeper, and you can have all this. Also very important when you do cooperative learning is that some teams will finish off faster. So you need to kill date time, whereby the students are just sitting down there doing nothing, and then they start talking, and then they start disturbing the other teams. So if some team has finished, you need to prepare some sponge activity to absorb the extra time. This could apply to individuals or teams, and it must be interesting or fun for the students. Something that they look forward when they finish, when they do it, they find it, they can get involved in something that they like to do. So we have talked about labels of each team and each student. We talked that whenever we give an activity or a task, every student must have a specific role. Thirdly, we put these routines of signals so that we can effectively manage the class, move the students around, send them back, and control the noise and all this. Well, in the next video, you will watch a class that really carry out what we call structures. Structures are ways in which activities are carried out in a creative manner, or not always the same way, but different structures. And so you will see in the next video an actual classroom that uses cooperative learning structures. And then in the last video, I will explain these structures more fully with what different structures for different intentions, and also explain what is social skills and how we must intentionally teach our students social skills so that social learning in your classroom becomes successful. It becomes a way in which you empower students to learn together through the cooperative learning. Well, I hope this will give you a little bit of an explanation and introduction to what cooperative learning is. And I hope in the next 2 videos that you will start getting excited about using cooperative learning and learning it by true practice. So we'll see you in the next video on the classroom that uses cooperative learning. God bless you.